In the previous video, we looked at some of the best practices of Android app development. In this video, we'll look back at the course and recollect the things that we've covered and discuss how you can improve the app to make it one of the best news reading apps out there. Now that we're at the end of this tutorial, it might seem that we've done a lot. Let's quickly review some of the things we've done. We began by understanding more about the basics of Android and more specifically, the latest version of Android N. We then moved to learning more about our app and the pages and activities that we'd be creating. We then had a look at tools at our disposal like Android Studio, Gradle, emulators, among others. We then created our first Android application, which was a simple Hello World app. We also created the user interface of our application for both the home page with individual news articles and the details page with details on every news article. We then looked at the recycler view and array adapters that helped us create and display a list of articles on the home screen. We also saw how to handle events in Android and use those events to trigger navigation in our app using intents. We also enabled multi-window features in our app. APIs and JSON were the basic networking elements we took a look at. We also specifically looked at the News API we'd be using for our app. We also learned how to use the great retrofit library to create network requests without many lines of code, and saw how to use JSON Schema to Pojo to convert a sample JSON dataset into plain old Java objects that we could use in conjunction with retrofit and JSON library. We then tested out the News API in our app using retrofit and hooked up the responses to our UI so we could see the news in our app. With Firebase Analytics and crash reporting, we could find out what's going on in our app. We saw how to do unit and instrumentation tests in Android using JUnit and Espresso. Finally, we proceeded to prepare our app to be published to the Play Store by adding ProGuard support and then signing it. We then uploaded our app to the Play Store, adding screenshots and relevant description elements. Finally, we learned about some of the best practices in the world of Android. We also learned about some of the awesome libraries that you could leverage in your app as well. We've covered so much in the last couple of hours, haven't we? I hope you've been having as much fun as me while building this newsreader app. That being said, this is just the beginning, and there's so much you could do to this news app, such as add offline support for the news, store the user's news reading preferences, give the user an option to browse through all the news sources, give an option to swipe between news stories, customize the look and feel of the app, build a specialized app, specialized user experience for tablets and Android Wear, integrate with third-party services like Pocket to read news items later, share news stories on Twitter, add in-app payments or advertisement options, suggest news sources based on the user's taste and habits. Here's an example of the same app with multiple sources and swipeable tabs. As a next step, feel free to visit the GitHub link for the project at https://github.com/s0h4m/newsapp to continue improving on the app. From there, you'll keep getting updates on how we're improving this open source news reading app. Furthermore, to continue learning about Android, do refer to the links mentioned in the general best practices part of the previous video. Again, this course is just the beginning. It's a window into what you can achieve. Great! In this section, we covered some excellent practices in Android N. Reviewed the things we have learned over the duration of the course. I'm sure by now, you're all set to create an app all by yourself. Feel free to get in touch with me regarding any concerns or queries that you've come across with this course. You can reach out to me at soham@trivius.com or on Twitter at my handle at S0H4M. I hope you had a good time as much as I had. Happy learning. Thank you and take care.